is ShanDien LaRance. I am Hopi, Tewa, Navajo, and Assiniboine, and I have been hoop dancing for about 25 years now. I started when I was 8 years old. As mentioned, I learned from my older brother Nakota, and I'm really happy. For these last 5 years, I've been instructing youth. But as of recently, in this last 6 months, I'm starting to finally transition into teaching adults. And I'll get more into that, but I find that it's extremely important, especially for our Indigenous community, to have these little sessions of stretching and movement, because not a lot of us wake up in the morning and do a little stretch. And this is very important for our bodies, it's very important for our health, our community, our health, our minds, and our spirits, just to move a little bit, and it settles you in your own body in a sense. So thank you again for doing that with me. I hope you guys all feel good. So let's get started. So I'm ShanDien. So I'm just gonna start right from the beginning. So again, I'm Hopi, Tewa, Navajo, and Assiniboine, and I grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona. My mother and father, my father is Steve LaRance, who is Hopi and Assiniboine, and my mother is Marian Denapa, who is Tewa and Navajo. This here is a picture of my family. My little brother Cree LaRance, my older sister Najoni Denapa, again my father Steve, my mother Marian, and my older brother Nakota, myself, and that there is our only niece, Sade Faye Young. So just like all of you, I'm sure, as performing artists or artists all around, it started with our families. So I always make sure to give tribute to my family, because I would not be here without them today. They've really shaped me into the person I am. To be able to grow up so culturally involved. Both of my parents are Native American artists. My father is a sculptor and a jeweler, and my mother is a painter and a jeweler. We all grew up learning how to do jewelry. I was also, as a youth, I was an award-winning jeweler at the time. And I love making jewelry. I love painting, and until hoop dancing took over my life, that's what I had planned to do for a career. Was I wanted to grow up, I wanted to be like my mom, I wanted to go to IAIA, I wanted to become a painter, I wanted to become a jeweler, I wanted to become a sculptor, and I of course dancing on the side, but I never knew where it would take me. Again, I'm Hopi and Tewa. So I grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is a very has a large Native community, which I'm very grateful for that as well. But I was also very lucky to be able to be close to my father's village, which is in Hopi, in the Hopi land, and it's the village of Monkopi. So I was very lucky to be involved in my Hopi community a lot. And the same with my mother. Every summer, I hopped on the train, got on Amtrak, and came down here, and I spent all my summers here with all my cousins and all my Tewa family as well. My little brother is actually a jeweler as well. Some of you may know him. He's not so little anymore, he's a big guy. My sister is now a doctor. She owns the Santa Fe Skin Institute here in Santa Fe. She also just opened up a new practice along with many other doctors called Nexus here in Santa Fe. She also is partial owner of the Southwest Hearing Institute as well. So I'm very proud of my sister and all of her accomplishments, because my whole life I've only known her to be in school, and as of the last 5 years, I've seen all those years and years of hard work, tears, sweat, finally paying off. So again, I'm super proud of my sister. My niece is actually now, she's just turned 21. She is also a world champion hoop dancer, and she's actually in college. She's in her sophomore year of college in Tucson, Arizona at the University of Arizona. And my brother was a 9-time world champion hoop dancer and an actor as well. Unfortunately, we lost my brother in 2020, but I'm very proud to carry on his legacy. Does anybody here know what hoop dancing is? Have you guys seen hoop dancing? Yeah, good. Has anybody seen Nakota LaRance perform? Okay, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, my brother was a very unique hoop dancer. In the hoop dance community, he's known as the GOAT, the greatest of all time. One of the legend hoop dancers. He really took it to a whole nother level, and I'm very proud to be for him to be my master instructor. But I'm also very proud to carry on his legacy. So again, I started hoop dancing when I was 8 years old, taught by my older brother, ShanDien LaRance. My dad has been my manager since we were young children. So even today, he's still my manager. We still perform together. As some of you have some of our business cards on the table, you see it's me and my dad together. But my brother started hoop dancing at 4 years old. And even at a young age, you can tell he was just a gifted young man. And he was able to carry on this gift his whole entire life. He passed away at 30 years old. But I'm so blessed at what my brother has accomplished. You know, again, he was an actor. He was an actor in Into the West, directed by Steven Spielberg. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but it's a really, really great series. One of my favorite series tells a really great history timeline of Native American history, and it has a really great love story in there. So, for reference, if any of you guys like Into the West, TNT. He's also been on a bunch of smaller films as well. A lot of them I can't remember, but he was a really great actor, and I'm very proud of everything my brother has done. Again, this is me when I was younger. So I started hoop dancing at 8 years old, and it all started because, of course, my brother was hoop dancing at all these performances. My parents were stay-at-home parents, but they were also artists. So my parents were always home with us. It was funny because I would go to like my cousin's house, and I'd be like, "Where are my friend's house?" I'd be like, "Where's your parents?" And they'd be like, "Oh, our parents are at work." And I'm like, "Your parents work? Like, are at work? What?" And I'm like, "They just leave you home alone?" And they're like, "Yeah, like, don't your parents?" I'm like, "Well, who feeds you? Like, who do you talk to? What do you do?" I'm so used to even today, my parents are my best friends. So I was always so comfortable with being around my parents, like, all the time. So we would travel, we would do festivals, powwows, conferences, all sorts of things, that the artist community does. And my brother would dance at a lot of these festivals and powwows and conferences and things like that. And me and my little brother, LaRance, we were just young, still little. My little brother is 1 year younger than me. So he was about 7 years old, I was 8 years old. And my parents finally said, "Hey, Dakota, it's time you teach your brother and sister how to hoop dance." And I was taught at such a young age that I can't really even remember learning, because it was more playing. I was playing with my brothers and my brothers. My sister never learned how to hoop dance because, again, she was 10 years older than me, and she was already on her path to becoming a doctor at that time. So I learned how to dance at 8 years old, me, my brothers, and that's how my career basically started. I started dancing all the way through high school, and at high school I actually stopped. When you become a teenager, you get a little funky, a little crazy, and I didn't think I was a good hoop dancer. So I decided to leave it behind me. I do remember, when we did learn and when we did train, my dad would pick us up after high school or after middle school, and he would always make us go to the recreation center. Excuse me. He would make us go to the recreation center right next to our school, and he would always rent out the upper floor just for us to train. And we of course, kids, we didn't want to train. We're like, we want to go hang out with our friends and do this. And we were at the rec center where all of our friends were. And they were all downstairs, all over the place, running around. But my dad made us. He was like, "If you commit 1 hour every day after school to hoop dance practice," and he would tell us, "This is going to pay off. Like, this will open doors for you. This is such a unique opportunity. This is such a unique dance, and you guys are really good at it." So he always reminded us, this is going to open up doors for you. This is going to open up opportunities. And as kids, we didn't believe him, but not long after that, all these amazing opportunities started presenting themselves, starting with my older brother, Dakota. So I give that credit to my dad and my mom for being the ones who constantly inspired us and pushed us to be better as artists and as people, And as culture bearers as well, as young people, you don't realize that that's what you're being given, but that's what was instilled into us. So I'm very honored and thankful to my dad for, pushing us to do that and be the best. After high school, before high school, while me and my brother were in high school, my brother was already acting. He was already like a 5-time world hoop dance champion by that point. Like I said, I slowed down in hoop dancing. Like I did it every once in a while, like to earn a little money here and there. But I didn't, I was like, I want to be an artist when I grow up. That's what I want to do. I stopped hoop dancing. And then not long after that, my brother's senior year, we got a call from Cirque du Soleil, and they wanted my brother to be in a Cirque du Soleil show. Has anybody seen a Cirque du Soleil show? Awesome. Did you guys like it? Yeah, they're exciting. I was like I said, I was a couple years younger than my brother, so I was, I believe, a junior at that time. My brother was a senior already, actually just graduated senior. And Cirque du Soleil called. They had seen one of his videos on YouTube. And again, my dad was, our manager and a great guy at that. YouTube had just came out, and my dad was like, hey, I'm gonna post one of my brother, and he told my brother, I'm gonna post one of your videos online. And my brother was like, no, don't do that. He was a really humble guy, I have to say. And he was like, no, don't do that, Dad, don't do that. And my dad was like, no, Nakota, we gotta post it, and let's just see what happens. Let's just put it out there and see what happens. It's YouTube, It's gonna sit there, it's gonna do what it does. Not long, I think maybe 2 to 3 months after my dad put that video on YouTube, Cirque du Soleil called my dad and said, hey, we saw this hoop dance video on YouTube. We're creating a new show called Totem that has Native American influence, and we would love for your son to audition for this and to be a part of it. And my dad was so ecstatic. He was like, oh my gosh. And he came, ran into all of us, and he was like, you guys will never believe who just called. He's like, Cirque du Soleil just called. And me and my brothers looked at each other and were like, what the heck is Cirque du Soleil? Dad, we don't know what Cirque du Soleil is. And he was like, oh my gosh. He was like, Cirque du Soleil is one of the biggest, circus companies in the world. He said, they're amazing. And so he called him back. He's like, my children don't even know what Cirque du Soleil is. So Cirque du Soleil was like, all right, we're going to fly you and your family out to Las Vegas, and we're going to let you see one of the shows that is also being directed by the same show that we're creating, which is Robert Lepage. And we saw Ka. Has anybody seen Ka? It's a good show. It's a really good show. So we flew out and we saw Ka for the first time. It was me, my mom, my dad, and my brother Nakota. Creed stayed home for some reason, I don't know why. But yeah, so we flew out together, saw this show, and me and my brother sat there and we looked at each other, we're like, and you want him to do what? We're just hoop dancers. We don't do flips, we don't do nothing crazy like this. But we didn't appreciate how unique this dance was. As children, this is just something we learned, and it was just something we did, and something we did to have fun. So we didn't realize at the time how unique and how vast this dance was, and where it was going to take us, and how it would grow over time. So once we saw that show, my brother was like, yeah, I'm in. I definitely want to be a part of this. So they flew him out to Montreal, where the headquarters is, and my brother was in Cirque du Soleil for about 5 years, and 2 of those years are creation years. So he spent 2 years in Montreal creating the show with a cast and crew of 150 people. My brother was one of the main characters in the show, and that was a really big honor for him. But later through the years, they realized, my brother, he was a crazy guy. He loved to skateboard, he loved to climb things, he loved to do flips, go in the water. He loved to do extreme sports. Cirque du Soleil, we were doing shows, 8 to 10 shows a week, 6 days a week. It was a really demanding schedule. And they realized at that point, they were like, well, he's one of the lead characters, and he also has a lot of performances in this show. They're like, we're gonna have to find a backup for him. So I was just graduating high school at that time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a year off, I'm gonna try and get into Cirque du Soleil with my brother and see where that goes. So I put my hat in the ring, and they told me no. They said, no, we don't want a female hoop dancer. We want another male hoop dancer. So they did. They ended up hiring another male hoop dancer. And I think at that time they realized, that hoop dancer actually only lasted for 6 months. And he was a phenomenal hoop dancer, but they realized, they're like, you know what? They're like, these two male hoop dancers, first off, my brother, he had the same figure as me. So he was skinny, short, actually much more skinnier than me at the time. And he was like extremely fast and just agile and quick. The other hoop dancer that they had hired, he was like 6 foot tall, bigger. He had a little flubber on him as well. And we had to wear these skin tight unitards. And they realized, they're like, and they would make a joke in Cirque du Soleil. They say it looked like his name was Eric. They're like, it looked like Eric swallowed Nakota. Like that's what it looks like on stage. So they kind of realized, they're like, you know what, this is not really working. Like I said, I had just graduated high school at that time, so my brother ended up flying me out they were in Amsterdam at that time. So my brother, for my graduation present, flew me out to Amsterdam to live with him for 1 month. And of course, at that time, I knew what I was doing. I was hanging out backstage, and every time that artistic director walked by, I picked up my brother's hoop, and I was playing with it and showing them that I could do exactly what my brother could do. And they started seeing me and my brother dancing together, and they started putting it together. They're like, first off, Nakota is happy when he's with his sister. As Indigenous people, when we're with our families and when we're with our communities, we are whole. And Nakota was taken away from his family, he was taken away from his community. He had his circus community, which was really great. But again, growing up as a family, we were so tight and always together. They realized it was kind of hard on him to be away from his family. They also realized that me and him had the same style. And so that other hoop dancer, he had a much different hoop dance style. So when they danced, there was an off motion between them because it just wasn't the same footwork, the same height, everything was different between them two. But between them, which was, of course, great, every artist should be different. But when they started seeing me and my brother dancing together, they realized we had the same movements. My brother taught me everything I knew as a hoop dancer. So everything I did was mimicking him. So they finally decided, well, we're gonna let this other hoop dancer go. And they came to me about maybe a month after leaving Amsterdam. And they're like, are you still interested in coming to Cirque du Soleil? And I said, yes, I am still interested. And they're like, okay. They're like, you have to send in an audition video, but between us, you've already got it, So, I was able to come to Cirque du Soleil, and that persistence of saying like, no, I'm not gonna take no for an answer, showing up and continuing to show myself, show my work, it really paid off. And that's something my dad always wants me to tell. He's like, you make sure that you tell those women that, that persistence really came through. As a young female, you didn't take no for an answer, you kept going, and you kept trying to show them what you had, and it ended up paying off in the end. So I was really grateful for that. So in 2011, I started my journey with my brother in Cirque du Soleil, and I was with them for 9 years. So this was my home for 9 years. I was in a big top show. This is a picture of my brother when he was in the show. So again, Nakota was in Totem for 5 years. 2 of those years were creation times. And then we performed together for about 3 years together. Again, because he was, he was at extreme sports, being held, it's the same show over and over and over and over and over again. Like it's the same thing every day, same makeup, same outfits, every single day. He got tired really quickly. And he was like, he liked to move. This guy liked to move, he wanted to do things. And he kind of realized, he was like, you know what? He's like, I feel underpaid here, I feel a little bit undervalued here. He was like, unless they pay me more, I think I'm gonna step down. He requested that, they said no, so he decided to leave. At that time, I ended up taking over for him. We ended up having another hoop dancer, Eric Hernandez, came and joined me at that time. But my brother's face always remained the face of Totem. Even after he left my whole 9 years in Totem, which I was really grateful for because, we would go to these cities. I would spend anywhere from 3 to 6 months in each city. And I would see the posters all over the place. And again, as family, my brother had left, and it was hard on me that my brother had left. But I always felt like I was being watched over by my brother in every city I went to, because I'd be walking around discovering the new town, and there's my brother looking at me. So I was so happy to always see my brother, and he would come and visit often as well. So I was always happy to see my brother. This is a photo of me here. People, we were in Vancouver for about 6 months, and they have that large Indigenous community there too. And I did get a lot of backlash for sexualizing Indigenous women because of my outfit, but I made it clear to them. I was like, I just want you to know, I'm literally dressed from head to toe. And I look like I'm naked in this photo, but I'm actually in a full body unitard. And it went all the way up into my neck, into my wrist, and then it was a footie. So I was fully covered the entire time. But I had to express to those females and those women, I was like, you know what, I am a Native American woman. I am an authentic Indigenous dancer. I was like, this is theater, yes. I was like, but I'm also very proud of my body. I worked really hard every single day, training every single day, not only just hoop dancing, 2 shows a day. They had me doing Pilates, they had me doing weightlifting. I was on a very strict regimen over there, and I was very proud of my body. So I understood where they were coming from, but I also wanted them to understand my point of view, that I was representing myself, I was representing my family, I was representing our people, but I was also very proud of what I had accomplished, and I didn't want to let that bring me down. My brother looked naked too, but he wasn't either. So again, here is some more photos. So we worked with I was in Cirque du Soleil for 9 years. So I worked with a great cast, and when I came to Cirque du Soleil, it was really great because my brother had already been there for so many years, and he was highly respected in the circus community because the circus community, they had never seen Native American hoop dancing before. And I remember my brother telling me the story, my dad and my brother telling me the story when they all first came together for the creation. They had this party at the headquarters. At the very top, they had this beautiful arena at the very top of the headquarters that overlooked Montreal. And Dakota was there, with his long hair, just a native bro. And nobody knew what he did. They were like, who is this guy that's here and he just has his hoops? Nobody had ever seen him perform. And they asked him, they're like, Dakota, would you like to perform for your cast and crew right here, right now? And he was like, sure. My dad was there, so my dad did a drum song. My brother did a hoop dance, and that circus community was floored. They're like, we've seen hula hooping, we've seen, aerial hoop, everything with a hoop, but we have never seen anything like that. And what was one of the biggest honors was that a lot of the performers that I worked with were actually a lot older performers. Some of the older gentlemen that I worked with, a few of them were in their 50s, or late 40s, 50s, which is, for a performer, for a gymnast as well, is old. And they had years and years, and just like powwow, it's a powwow community, it's the same circus community. They travel from town to town. They pass it on from generation to generation. So when they saw this, they were just floored. They had never seen anything like that. And I still have a lot of those instructors or the people that were there for the first time, and they say, the first time we saw your brother hoop dance, it just gave us goosebumps from head to toe. They're like, we will never forget that. That was the first, and for a lot of them, that was the first time they saw Native Americans at all. So it was a really unique opportunity. So we worked with Russians, Ukrainian, Chinese, Japanese, Australian. We worked with a whole Canadian, a whole team of people, and that was the best part about all of it. I have to say, I remember coming and I was welcomed with open arms because I was Dakota's little sister, and instantly I was family to them, instantly. And I remember meeting every single person, and this is something I do also love in the performing arts world and in the art world as well. You go, you meet these people, and then if you're lucky, you get to meet them before you get to see their talent. and you get to experience the people they are before you're influenced by their creations and their works and things like that. So I got to meet all of these people, and before meeting them, they were just really down to earth, great people. But then you see them perform, and oh my gosh, they were some of the best of the best. Cirque du Soleil, dudes like super jacked, flying around, doing flips all over the place, like doing contortion, doing handstands, wiggling their toes right here, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And so that was one of my best experiences, was meeting them all before actually getting to see them perform. We also did our own makeup. So in Montreal, I had to do my own 6-month creation as well before I even went to go work with my brother. You have to learn how to do your own makeup. So everybody in Cirque du Soleil does their own makeup, just so you guys know. It took me, when I first started doing my makeup, it took me 2 hours to do my makeup. So before every show, we have a 2-hour show call. So we have to be there even 2 hours before the show just to put on our makeup. By the time I left Cirque, I had it down to 1 hour. And that was like fast. But it was fun, I actually, that moment of sitting at your loge and doing your makeup and getting into that zone of becoming that artist. And this was a mask. Like, this was not me. And even, some of my other, my other performers, they were like, you are a different person when you have your face on. When you don't have your face on, you're like light and bubbly and this and that. But then when you have your face on, there's just like a very like serious face that goes with this face as well. Like the confidence followed. And I loved that so much. One thing that was different about me and Dakota was, when I had my face on, like I was that person, but when I took it off, people didn't recognize me on the street. My brother, on the other hand, because of his hair, because of his look and his face being everywhere, he was always recognized wherever he went. And that, again, he was a humble guy, and that is actually something he didn't like. So even when he left Cirque, he asked them, please take the photo down, please take the photo down. They wouldn't take the photo down. But like I said, I loved it, so it was okay. I got to meet some great performers. This here is Slava. He was one of my very good friends. Jan right here, he was another wonderful performer. Unfortunately, he passed away in a Cirque show performing live. And again, it's a risky business that a lot of them do, and it is a very dangerous business. So I was very honored to know these people, this person, these people, and to call them my friends as well. This is a little video, just to show you guys, I can talk about what Cirque du Soleil was like, but I wanted to show you guys a little video. Again, I was 9 years in this show, and I was doing 10 shows, 8 to 10 shows a week, 6 days a week with only one dark day off, which was usually on a Monday. But I got to travel the world. I've been to London 3 times. I got to perform in the Royal Albert Hall 3 times. The only continent I did not, and I still not have hit, was South America. And I haven't got to perform there, but that is my goal. Before COVID, we were actually supposed to go to start our South American tour, and we were supposed to start with 6 months in Sao Paulo. But COVID came and, took over the world. But here's a little video, a commercial of Totem.
Jaya
piece of totem. The roller skating act that you saw in there, they were the other natives in the show, but they were actually gypsies. They were Italian, Spanish gypsies, and they are actually some of my very, very best friends. The music that you guys heard is actually a Wendat singer. His name was Christian Laveau. I don't know if any of you know him, but he's from Wendat, which is in Canada, in the Quebecois territory. So we did have there was 3 natives on the show, myself, Eric Hernandez, and our singer. And the music that you heard, that was actually one of the opening songs. So we were an opening act. Cirque du Soleil is known for not having any animals in their shows, but they ended up dressing us up as animals. So a lot of those guys in the green, they were supposed to be frogs. A lot of them, the other people were monkeys and stuff like that. So Totem was a story of evolution. And it was just really great. I also played a silverfish when I wasn't hoop dancing. I had to put on another full body leotard with a mask and everything, and I just had to roll on the floor and pretend I was a fish a lot of the time. But that music that started, that was behind this, that was the opening song. And it was so unique and so beautiful. You know, it started with the crystal man coming from the top, and he was in this contortion who would drop in, and he represented the spark of life. And our stage was it was a very small, intimate show, but our stage had the skeleton of a turtle shell around it. And the skeleton was actually the high bars for the gymnast to move around. So the crystal man would drop in, the gymnast, the frogs would fly back, and there would be this whole underwater scene. And then the turtle shell would lift, and that music would start, and we would come from under the stage, and we would step out, and we would step onto this moving platform and just have, and again, performing arts. 9 years in Cirque du Soleil really shaped me as a performing artist. Like, again, mastering your craft, doing it every single day, day after day after day after day. Like, I have to say, I didn't feel like a true master hoop dancer until about 5 years into working with Cirque du Soleil. A lot of the time when I first started, my older brother covered for me. When I had to do a solo act, I looked at him, I was like, Coda, I'm not ready. And he was like, okay, I'll do this for you. Even there was times he was sick, and I was like, Coda, I don't know if I can do this. And he was like, okay, I'll cover for you. But it wasn't until after he left when I was like, okay, I need to step up. And when I first arrived, I was not good at all. When the second hoop dancer arrived and I saw him perform, and he was taking the place of my brother, I was like, oh no, I need to step it up. And instantly, you instantly step into that place. When you realize that you don't have somebody that's gonna cover for you, you instantly step up your game. So I started really dedicating myself to my craft, my hoop dancing, and I fell in love with it. And it did come with that mentality of, a crazy mentality of like, again, that consistency, that constant drive to want to be better, wanting to be faster, I want to be faster. That artistic side of it, and this is something, I just left one of our foundations that we started here where we taught the youth. When my brother came home, he started a youth program with my dad, a couple of youth programs actually. And that's something we tried to instill in them, but again, that comes with experience, that stage presence, having that confidence to look the people in the eye, and also to slow down when you need to slow down, especially as a dancer, as a hoop dancer as well. Like, I wanted to be a fast dancer, but we also need to appreciate the slowness and those moments of breathing for the audience to see you. 9 years of Cirque du Soleil shaped me, whipped my booty into shape, and it was a really great 9 years. It came to an end because of COVID, and just before COVID, I actually had taken a year off. In Canada, if you're 5 years in a company, you can take a sabbatical for 1 year, and you're always guaranteed to have your job back. So I had taken 1 year. At 8 years, I was like, this is enough. I was like, I'm going crazy here, same thing over and over. And I didn't realize that I started losing my connection to my community because I wasn't home to participate in our traditional doings. I wasn't home to be a part of the ceremonies, to walk around other people that look like me. When I was traveling the world, I stood out like a sore thumb. Like, I was different. And people knew it, like everybody knew it. And people would stop me and they're like, are you Chinese? Are you Filipino? Are you Thai? Like, what are you? And I would tell them, I'm American. And they're like, yeah, but what are you? I'm like, I'm a Native American. I'm an American, like through and through. And they're like, no, a lot of people, like, again, in all these foreign countries, they're like, no, those Native people, they're dead. They don't exist anymore. And I'm like, no, we do. So, there was a part of me that also became an unofficial representative for our indigenous people. And, I would do a lot of backstage tours. A lot of people would pay to come backstage. And I would talk them through some of our things. And, a lot of them would ask very ignorant questions. But I knew it was not their fault. And so being able to control my responses to them, like, do you still live in a teepee? Things, very stereotypic stuff like that. And it was hard at first, but I realized, I was like, man, like, the history is just not right. It's just, we're not represented enough. We're not in, social media enough. And that's what's really great about these last, like, I would say, 8 years, 10 years, is our community, we are riding a wave right now, like, of, Native is in fashion. And America needs to put us on a pedestal even more than usual, or more than they always should have, honestly, right? They always should have, because this is the true American culture. We have a vibrant American culture. We're very different. I would tell people, when I was in Europe, I'm like, just think of our Native communities like Europe. We have our smaller nations, we have our own languages, and we're all very different, but there are a lot of us that still continue to thrive. So I was very proud to be able to represent our people in that way. But when I took my sabbatical, I was like, I need to come home because I'm losing that connection to being with my people. And you lose that when you don't see people that look like you, when you don't eat your tribal foods. It's like your soul becomes still, in a way. And that's something I always think about people in America, like, people that came from other places. And I try to encourage them still. I'm like, you guys should go back to where you came from. And not in a, like, demeaning way, but I'm like, go experience it. Like, I feel like that is a lot of our problems in America right now, is a lot of those people are disconnected from their souls and their grounding spirits. And it's like, if you go back, if you eat your traditional foods, if you see people that look like you, there is something so grounding in that experience. Your soul connects to that. And I realized that when I took my sabbatical, I came home and I just sucked it all in. Like, it was one of the best times of my life. I had just come from Cirque du Soleil, so I was extremely fit. I started competing in hoop dance competitions, won a couple championships during that time. But I realized I was lost at that time. And I had left angry. And I was like, why was I so angry? And it was because I was disconnected from my people. And when I came back, my circus community, they're like, you are just so happy. They're like, we haven't seen you this happy since you first arrived. And I was like, I got to be with my family. So I went back to Cirque du Soleil, 2019, was with them for 3 months, and then COVID hit and closed everything down. We were in Germany. I actually think I got COVID while I was there. And I went to the hospital and I told them, I was like, I think I got that new disease, that new sickness going around. And they're like, no, it's not here yet. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I've never felt this way before. Sure enough, COVID was there. It spread like wildfire all over the place. And that's how Totem came to an end for me. So again, like I said, my brother had already returned home, and they started some youth foundations. They started the Pewake Hoop Dance Group and the Lightning Boy Foundation, which are 2 thriving foundations here in New Mexico. And my brother and my family and myself have instructed over 100 youth hoop dancers, and are very proud to say that a lot of them are still continuing. And this picture here, this young guy in the blue shirt, he's actually the world champion hoop dancer now, and he's now taken over as master instructor for those foundations, as well as this guy here in the green. And a lot of them still hoop dance. But again, which is also really great. And this is what I tell them, hoop dance, taking your hoops is a tangible piece of your culture you can take all over the place. So, when I was traveling the world, you're in a new place, it's scary, but I would always take my hoops with me. I would put my headphones in, listen to our traditional music, my powwow music, and I was home. And immediately I would dance, I would move, and that's what made me feel comfortable. And it also helped me to make friends. And people were like, what are you? Like, oh, you're a native dancer. Like, we know, and it was really great. It's a tangible piece of your culture, and I felt tied down through that. So I'm very proud to have been able to do that. Again, we lost my brother in 2020. He was the master instructor. And when we lost him, I took over as master instructor. So I've been the master instructor for the last 5 years up until this February. And that decision was made to step down actually early in December. Last Indian market, I had actually rolled my ankle just walking on the cobblestone here in the streets. And I was out of commission for 3 months, and I'm a full-time performing artist, so I wasn't able to make money during that time. I was barely able to walk. With that, I'm sure if any of you have had an injury, there comes a small depression that comes with it, not being able to move the way you were able to move. And I had been talking for years now about wanting to teach adults, and I felt like the universe had done that. This was a sign to me that you need to slow down, you need to step back, you need to take a bigger picture of everything, you need to slow down. And I realized, I was like, I think it's time that I start pursuing what I've been talking about, which is teaching adults and bringing it into the adult community. Again, it's very healing, this hoop dance. You don't have to be the fastest hoop dancer, but just to gently move through your hoops, to be able to express your own culture and your own story through this dance and through this art form is very healing and very rewarding for our community. So that is something I really want to start to do. We've also established the ShanDien LaRance Youth Hoop Dance Competition. Unfortunately, as we split from some of these foundations, of course, politics and power kind of ruined some of those connections. And it's no longer the ShanDien LaRance Youth Hoop Dance Foundation, but it is the Lightning Boy Youth Hoop Dance Foundation. And we're still very proud to be able to support this. To support these young dancers. Like, it's so cute. If you guys are around in August, I encourage you all to go to the Lightning Boy Youth Hoop Dance Competition. To see these young kids, they have a little grand entry, and it's so cute, and they all stand on the sidelines, they support each other, they all get awards in the end. We also compete at the World Hoop Dance Competition, but there's over 150 competitors at the World Hoop Dance Competition. And a lot of those young dancers feel overlooked. So this gives them that opportunity to feel seen, and it's just for them. So again, it's in August this year. I don't know the exact dates. I think it's the 12th and 13th of August. But definitely look into it. It's held every year at the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture up on Museum Hill. Again, when I came home, I started winning some championships. So I was the Intermountain all-women's hoop dance champion, and that was, I believe, 2018. And 2023, I came back for the Native Market Days powwow, our Native Market Days hoop dance competition, and won that as well, the women's division in that as well. This right here is Patrick Willie. I'm actually working with him currently at the moment, but he's also a multi-champion hoop dancer as well. Another one of my notable performances that next to Cirque du Soleil, was performing at the White House. So in, I believe, 2022, 23 maybe, we were invited by Jill Biden for the first Native American celebration, for Native American Celebration Month. So this was actually supposed to become annual, but it didn't, I don't know why. But they ended up inviting 400 indigenous representatives from all across Turtle Island and America to come to the White House. And it was so beautiful because I remember stepping on stage and overlooking an audience of 400 natives in the White House, all dressed in their best regalia, representing their cultures, representing their people. And to see that, I was beyond honored and privileged, and to perform and stand before them in the White House, I was just, it was one of my unforgettable moments in my life. So here's some of me performing there. Again, after leaving Cirque du Soleil, I started doing more performances, contemporary performances outside of just traditional hoop dancing. So this is me working with Kotzebue up in Tivoli in New York, working with Baryshnikov, and a bunch of ballet dancers. And so I was able to do a hoop dance performance to classical music, and it's actually something I've really loved over the years, and I continue to do as well. I also work every year for the Brooklyn Ballet. And again, this is another opportunity that was passed down to me from my brother Dakota. He was originally the dancer that was in Brooklyn Ballet. So even after my brother's passing, he still provides for me. Just people who knew him, they still reach out and they said, hey, your brother performed here. In his memory, we would love to have you and your family back to perform here. So since my brother passed in 2022, I started working with the Brooklyn Nutcracker, and I do it every year. I go out for the Brooklyn Nutcracker, and it's an ethnic Brooklyn Nutcracker, in the sense that it has not just traditional ballet in there, but it has a lot of cultural dances as well. So we got Chinese dancers in there, Ukrainian dancers, flamenco dancers, belly dancers, and it's just another great, just like Cirque du Soleil, another great community that was given to me by my brother, presented to me by my brother, and I was welcomed with open arms. And even when I go back to this day, a lot of those dancers still know him, still talk about him in his memory, and they see my work and they're just like, you're a true reflection of your brother, and that is one of the greatest compliments that I can receive. I also still continue to do small circus performances when I get the opportunity. I haven't done any super recently, but it's something I am continuing to work towards. Again, traditional hoop dancing is great, but there's just something so beautiful about having this crazy artistic side and being able to step in the circus community and bring the indigenous culture to it, but in a contemporary way. This right here was actually a native circus company, native-inspired company that put on this show in New York in Times Square. So that was really great. Small tours all over the place every now and then, but I still love it. I still enjoy my circus friends, circus community. It's a small circus community just like it is a small powwow and indigenous community, and I'm still really happy to be a part of that. I've also become a unofficial representative of New Mexico. So I don't know if any of you have traveled. I'm sure, well, actually, you all traveled here, but if you saw, I might be in some of the airports. I'm the hoop dancer. If you also watched Gathering of Nations online this year, you probably saw my ad as well. A few years ago, New Mexico was selected as one of the best places to travel by Lonely Planet, and I was the spokesperson for the Lonely Planet travel episode of that time. So, and we actually won an award on that as well, which was really great. And then also, if you see recently, if you go to some of the stores around here, you'll see my newest cover photo, which is a great shot of my butt. And then here are a few more articles and magazines I've been in. Legacy magazine, which I actually was with Natalie Benally. If you guys know Natalie, she was also featured in this magazine and this article with me as well. About 6 months ago, I was also featured in the National Geographic Story of God. And this was, again, they were talking about just religions of all sorts. And they brought up the Native American, the Hopi religion. And so they contacted me and they said, you're Hopi, you're a hoop dancer, we would love to know your significant, how it ties to your culture. So I was featured in the National Geographic. And recently, I actually just flew back from Japan for this fashion week and for the FNX Gala that was last weekend. But I was in Japan. I'm actually there, not now, but they're gonna fly back on Monday to work with the World Expo. So we're out there, my dad is out there right now, Patrick Willie is working with me out there, and we're representing the United States and Native American people at the US Pavilion, and it's just super great. I love being out there. When I was in Cirque du Soleil, I was 18 months in Japan before, so it's kind of like returning to home. All these small towns that I visited, you have your own you make your routines in each city. And I lived in Osaka for about 6 months, and so I was really great to go back home in a small sense. Another great honor to represent our Indigenous people. And like I said, my future endeavors and goals are to, when I come home, when I'm not traveling the world, I want to continue to offer classes to our adult dancers, or not just adult dancers, but I'm starting this new program that is a hoop dance, fitness, and flow. So it's just starting to move slowly through these hoops. Again, I know, and it's actually been harder because I did start working with adults, and it's actually harder than working with children because a lot of us don't move normally, and so to get you guys to start loosening up a little bit, it takes a little while. But just before leaving to Japan, I worked 2 months at IAIA for the Women's Wellness Program, and it was a great amount of growth that I saw in a matter of 8 weeks, once a week hoop dance class, and it was really great. So my big goal is I would love to bring hoop dance classes and hoop dance fitness classes to our communities, but on a platform that is free and accessible for our Indigenous people to use at their own leisure. So that is my next big goal. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you, everybody.